So what if, oh wait, you're up.
You're up.
I'm up?
You're up.
It's my lunch date. Hi, Jack.
Hello, my dear.
Well, is it okay if you're on Facebook Live?
Yes.
Oh, good, because we are. Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is the next book you're writing?
Right now, I'm finishing up a book called Living the Success Principles. It's all stories of people who've either read my book, taken a seminar, and how they've applied the principles and magically changed their lives. From a guy who was a brain injury, thought he'd never get out of bed again. His wife was told, you now have a third child. You're going to be taking care of him forever. And I was up in Canada, and I was on TV, and Good Morning, like 7 in the morning, one of those shows. And the announcer said, stay tuned after this message. Jack Canfield's going to show you how to get from where you are to where you want to be. He said, I don't want to be in bed anymore. He'd been feeling sorry for himself for over a year because someone else basically put him in that situation. And he got my book. He couldn't read it. He was reading it about the 3rd grade level. And so what happened was he got someone else to read it to him. He hired a reading coach, learned to read again, came to one of my seminars, and now is one of my trainers traveling around the world.
Wow.
Another story is a guy who basically got my free 10-day transformation, free. Just go to my website, jackcanfield.com, free, and has made multiple millions of dollars just from going through my free 3 minutes a day online course. So those are the kind of stories. So that's what I'm finishing. We're doing the Success Principles for Women. That'll come out in about a year.
Okay.
And we're doing Success Principles workbook, so people have a workbook to walk through. And my big magnus opus, which I'm just starting to write, is a book on about how to choose love over fear in your life.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You know what?
What?
What I do is I help women break through their fears.
Good.
So that they can live a life of confidence. They can generate more revenue, and they can live a greater purpose on the earth.
Beautiful.
So what kind of advice do you have for me?
In terms of what?
Like, what's the best way for me to fast start that and get that out there faster? I guess Facebook Live is one way.
Well, one of the things you want to do is read a book called 1001 Ways, 1001 Ways to Market Your Book.
Okay.
It's by John Kramer, Kremer. There's a ton of stuff in there you do. When we first got that book years ago, and he updates it every year for all the new technology and things, but we took 700 of those ideas, made 700 Post-its, put them on a wall going down our office, and every day we take 2 or 3 off and do them. It took us 14 months to finish all that.
Oh, wow.
But at the end of that 14 months, our book made number 15 on the Washington Post. 3 weeks later, number 15 on the New York Times, climbed up, got to number 1 and stayed there for 3 years. So most authors give up too soon in the marketing because it's not a bestseller overnight.
Okay.
So the main thing is make a commitment. And with your work, brand it. I was just asked by a plastic surgeon. I think he's a plastic surgeon. No, he was a guy who works with weight loss surgery. And what he was saying is he's got a new book coming out. And he said, how can I make it as successful as your book? I said, this is his 7th book. I said, are they all branded with some similar kind of name? He said, no. I said, so every time you bring a book out, you are competing with yourself instead of creating a brand like Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Success Principles, Men from Mars, Women from Venus, the Mars and Venus series. That's critical. So think about that as you do that as well.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and lastly, what was your favorite part of our lunch?
Favorite part was listening to your story about your childhood and growing up and, getting out of an abusive relationship and very similar to things I went through in my life. So I felt a kinship with you in terms of our backgrounds.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You're amazing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, we just hugged on here. Okay, you guys, that was me, Jack Canfield.
I have a quick question.
Yes, okay.
You do a lot on leadership and you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. If you could give one nugget of information to leaders out there or entrepreneurs on how to be a leader, what would it be?
Well, first of all, you have to have something you're passionate about that you can communicate, because leaders need to be able to create a vision and excite and empower and inspire people so that they want to follow you to where you're leading. You also have to walk the talk. I mean, don't ask people, this was a really interesting study. They asked people to be on time to meetings in corporations. Who's always the last person to come to the meeting? The leader. And sometimes 10 or 15 or 20 minutes late. So you have to model what it is. People need to trust you. You have to keep your word, follow through on what you say you're going to do. You have to be someone who is continually learning so you can keep up with the trend. In today's world, things are changing so fast. You'll be a follower if you're not a leader. So you've got to keep up and stay with all that. I would say also live with integrity, because when people start finding out you aren't, being the person you say you are, they lose trust in you. And you have to be someone who holds people accountable, which means you've got to be someone that's a little bit tough sometimes, as well as loving. Celebrate the people's successes, really support them and feeling like they did a good job. And also at the same time, be willing to discipline, not in a punishing way, but hold people accountable. Don't put up with sloppy work. One of the things I learned from Henry Kissinger was when he would have staff and they would do a report for him, they'd come in and he would say, I've worked all weekend on this. What do you say? Is that your best work? Is that the best thing you can possibly do? And they would go, no. He'd say, no, go back and spend 2 more days on it. I want your best work. And don't accept anything that's substandard. And finally, be a teacher. People want a leader who can teach them something, and they know that they're going to go somewhere in your organization, and you're going to mentor them and support them. Now, if you're leading 25,000 people like in Microsoft, that's a different story. But most people are working in small organizations. And then finally, be a good listener. Most leaders don't listen. Here's what we're going to do, and here's why we're going to do it. Well, what do you guys think about that? And what are your needs? And ask for feedback. Most leaders don't take in feedback very well. They get angry at it. They argue with it. They don't listen to it. And so basically it's called, tell me something I need to know. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me as a leader? Anything less than a 10, tell me what I would need to do to get a 10. Do that with your spouse. Do that with your children. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me as a parent? How would you rate me as a husband? How would you rate me as a friend, a sister, a mother, whatever? And then the only answer you ever give when people give you that kind of feedback is thank you for caring enough to be honest with me and share that with me. Don't fight with it. Just say thank you. Now, is all feedback accurate? No. But as I like to say, if one person calls you a horse, they're crazy. 5 people call you a horse, there's a conspiracy. 10 people call you a horse, it's time to buy a saddle.
Awesome,
or
thank
go
you.
ride horseback. Bareback.
Bareback,
There you go. Awesome, thank you very much.
Awesome, great question. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jack. Really appreciate it.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.